Now, this is time for the panel discussion. And for panel discussion, I would like to call our moderator on stage, Dr. Nihal Anwar Siddiqui, our keynote speaker, professor and director of COE. Please give a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for Mr. Nihal Anwar Siddiqui. एक बार जोरदार तालियां हो जाए, ladies and gentlemen, for our moderator. Now I would like to call our speakers upon the stage, Mr. Dr. Dilip Kumar Bandyopadhyay, Chief Advisor FPO, Chairman ALS, Amity Law School, Noida, and Mentor AIES. Please give a big round of applause for him. Mr. Gyanesh, Head EHS Sustainability Division, Times Group, BCCL. Please give a big round of applause for him. Mr. Prakash, Prasad, Corporate Head HSC at AFCONS Infrastructure Limited, a Shapoorji, Pallonji Group Company. Please give a big round of applause for him. Mr. Ashu Kalra, Vice President, Head of Corporate Real Estate and Environment Sustainability EXLService.com, India. Give a big round of applause for Mr. Ashu Kalra. Ms. Shipra M. Jain, Principal Consultant, ESG Strategy Lead at ERM. Please give a big round of applause for Ms. Shipra M. Jain. Our topic is ESG Sustainable Opportunities to Minimize Climate Change Impacts, Net Zero, Renewable Energy, Climate Risk, Climate Disclosure, and Decarbonization. So over to you, sir.
Good afternoon. I hope that we have enjoyed good tea with pakoda. First of all, I will talk about that when I was doing my master's around 30 years back, people were asking what this environmental science or environmental engineering. People were not that much aware that which course you are going to do, where you will be absorbed. My colleague, he said, एक टाइम ऐसा आएगा लोग सड़कों पर पोल्यूशन की वजह से गिरने लगेंगे, मर के गिरने लगेंगे. And that will be our time. ये बच्चों की बात बता रहे हैं कि किस तरह से वो सोचते हैं. And now that after 30 years, I can see that what is happening worldwide. Fortunately, I have worked, I think, in and around Delhi, initial days when I joined as an environmental engineer. And I have seen that there was no stack port where you can take the samples for stack emissions, right? And people were reporting. Then I have got opportunity to work as a scientist, and where I worked on number of projects, and one of them was on life cycle assessment in 2002. So 2002, I have worked on around 8 industries for life cycle assessment. And that time we were calculating how much CO2 is going into the air, and how much you are going to contribute to acid rain or eutrophication. So that was the time. But that time also people were not aware. And now everybody is talking about that what is happening to Delhi. We had rules, regulation made in way back around 40 years back, 1981, Air Act came. But that time nobody took initiative that what we should do. We should leave some green belt in and around Delhi. And whatever is left, I think that is very, very small. So today we are sitting here to discuss some of the new things which is now people are taking as a ESG and sustainability. So I'm going to ask some of the very important questions which again will help us to have a better environment. So I will start with Prakash ji, and who's working with a construction company. What is the future of ESG and sustainability with particular reference to a construction industry?
Hello. Thank you, Nihal ji. And thank you every panel member over here and participant who are listening to us. In fact, as Nihal has told, when he had started his career, environment was new. And same thing with us. When we have started our safety career, when we were studying, people were saying, what you are reading here? What is the use of studying this? Today now we see every corner people talks about HSC or EHS. Any terms you can use. Similar ESG, recently it has come in 20. Before that, ISO 45,000 series came, and in between COVID has come. Then ISO has to make a guidance in form of ISO 45003. that guides the people how to work in the COVID situations. And then another series is also going to come in 2024. You will find they are coming with the performance measurement. Why the performance measurement guidance is required? Because once things are measured properly, then you can plan, then you can design. Similar, we can see the devastating effect of climate change. We can see the devastating effect of fossil fuel warnings. And as Mr. Raj has explained you, nature has its own capacity to mitigate it, but up to certain limit. And now mankind has crossed that limit at many fields. Particularly in construction industry, I will tell you, we are the person who interact with nature first. We are the person go and interact with the nature while doing the projects. So our role and responsibilities increase like anything. And how world is going to change, you can see. As per the current data, the $60 trillion are with the agency who want to invest responsibly in the projects. The project who do the responsible job, as far as ESG is concerned, they want to invest there only. So the person, the leader who are sitting here can see the perspectives of ESG investment. They can see the ESG investment. It is going to save the world. It is going to bring the new kind of world where fossil fuel is going out and green energy is going to come. And the biggest challenge is that the world population, that is around 7 to 8 billion, how many % people are having access to the green energy? It's a less than 10%. It's the less than 10%. Now you can see how huge challenge is there. And to go to that goal, we have a lot to do in this world. Like last time, I think 1.5 years back, I was attending a seminar on Decarbonize India. I was presenting my case. So in that seminar, I told, the country has to stop the short duration flight. Why I told this word? Whenever you book the ticket, many websites you will find, every seat they have mentioned that how many calories they are going to burn. Suppose a flight is carrying you, against you, how many calories they are going to burn? And I'm very happy to say I came to know that one country already stopped the short duration flight. Because these are the industry where emission is very high. Take the example of shipping, Mr. Raj was also saying. Even a small vessels, a small ship that go for the sail for 20 days or 15 days, they are usually loading more than 5,000 tons of fuel. So how much they are burning, how much carbon they are emitting in our environment? What is the alternate solution for that? What is the alternate solution for aviation sector? So the situation is very, very huge, and it is going to shape entire world. And everybody has to take the responsibility, because world goes to a transition phase in every 30 to 40 years, 50 years. Remember the IT transition. Now, transition for fossil fuel to green energy. The IT transition shaped the today's world, and today's transition will shape the future world. So for this part, I'll say this much only. And
yeah, thank you, Mr. Om Prakash. My next panel member is Mr. Ashu Kalra. Ashuji, how IT industry is going to play a role in climate change?
Yeah, so basically IT industry, if you look at the Indian economy in last so many years, so IT and ITES sector has really helped a lot. So I think the sustainable development, or what we talk about from IT industry, I think that is required. And investment in green energy, that is something which we are looking at. A lot of IT organizations are announcing that they are going to be net zero. Most of us know that India has announced the net zero goal by 2070, while the UNGC say that the world should be net zero by 2050. But most of the IT industries have announced the net zero by 2030, 2035, and I would say before 2050, which is the UNGC goal. So I think it's a lot of steps which IT industry have taken, and I'll talk about EXL where I work, that we are going to be net zero business by 2045. That means that we will not be doing any emission, or we are netting off our emission by doing a lot of, let's say, embedment of renewable energy, doing a lot of investment in the earth. So one quick thing which I want to tell you that we have recently created a forest in Noida. So we went to the Greater Noida Authority and the Noida Authority, and there is a space in Sector 150 where we have planted 30,000 trees. And those trees are now 6 feet high, and we can see a lot of birds actually coming in. We are creating a pond there, and now we will give that forest back to Noida Authority, and they can maintain it. They've already named this as a city forest. So what this is doing, this is creating a lungs for the Noida. And if we create 10, 12 more, I think the problem what you started initially saying that in Delhi, I think that's how we need to look at it. We created a lot of park. We go to Delhi, we go to Noida, we go to Gurgaon, Ghaziabad, Faridabad. There's a lot of parks, but how many trees are there, we don't know. We create a lot of landscape, but I think that is something which we have written to the government, that we are happy to take those land, and I'm not talking from EXL perspective. I think IT industries are really doing well. There are 2 more industries in Noida who have really invested in forest. So green energy, then we do a lot of these activities. And the third thing what we can look at is creating awareness. So I think I'm really glad that, you know, when we used to study, and you were talking about 30 years back, you did your master's. When I did my, let's say, schooling in 1990 or 1988, the EVS was not a subject, environment science. And today, when I see my kids going to school, and they talk about that EVS is a subject. So I think that's a culture which is being changed. And I'm really happy to see that they know what is global warming, which we learned much later when we went for our engineering. So I think the third thing which I will talk about, which everybody we should go back, as much awareness we can create within ourselves, within our children's, because sustainability is what? We should give the earth in the same manner, the way we got from our parents to our children. That is what we need to do, but we're not doing it. So I will take a pause here.
Thank you, Mr. Ashu Kalra. He has talked about a lot of things related to IT sector and even the awareness part. I think one more information may be very interesting to know, that most of the developed countries, they used to leave, they used to have this city limit. So after certain area, they will leave the place for greenery only. So they say it's a green belt after your city limit is there. There is no other construction. I think we have certain policies for some of the area in hilly areas. I think especially when I was in Dehradun, I heard a lot about Mussoorie. So they are not allowing any type of construction, but something will be happening. Okay, thank you, Ashuji. Now my next panel member is Mr. Gyanesh Pathak. Gyanesh, how do you see sustainability and ESG importance in business?
Thank you, Dr. Nihalji. So I give you the perspective about sustainability and ESG, where, you know, how is it started actually. So in the late 90s, I think this Environmental Production Acts came, and then all the reforms on Factories Act and all these things came during that time. When we moved into the 2000 or 2000 era actually, then we started with the different CSR rules, as well as in the BRR, like business responsibility reporting and all. So these reforms actually also got, you know, tightened. Like these all BRR reports converted into this integrated reporting, and also then is converted into a BSR, which is like business responsibility and sustainability reporting. So the ESG started in 2017, when the need has been felt. Yes, we should start something for the environment, because the environment is really degrading. Like we are actually living in this Delhi, and you are all witnessing the Delhi condition. What is happening around Delhi? So people are not able to breathe. So these reforms is going to tighten as well. So earlier, people used to say that all the companies who are listed in the stock exchange, like, so these companies has to do the compliances. But now I would say every company, whosoever they are operating, they have to adopt the sustainability and ESG practices. Now, question is how we can adopt these practices. Because the government also started with the, SEBI also started with the, like BSR core and all. So BSR core is hardly, BSR core is the hard compliances, which is applicable for the 150 companies, then 300, then 500, then 1,000 companies. So most of the companies will fall under this category. So every company has to adopt. So sustainability is not a requirement or is not a law, but it is a need of the hour. Every company have to adopt this. And now the government is taking all these actions, but they have also come out with a very unique kind of a campaign, which is recently, I think, they are, so this decade, this entire decade in 2000 till 2030, this is going to be a milestone for the India history, I would say. Because in India, government has taken the target of reduction of 45% energy intensity, number one. Number two, they are going to have reduction of, or maybe the generation of the renewable power 50% from the renewable sources. So these are the, the quick thing or these are the important thing is going to be a milestone, and this will be a really impactful. But now question is, are we actually living or actually thinking about all these initiatives? So company has to adopt all these renewable initiatives. Like government has given mandate that by 2030 we will achieve the 50% renewable generation. But every company has to come out. Every company has to adopt SDGs. I would say that there are a lot of people actually sitting here. Have you thoroughly examined the SDGs requirement? All 17 SDGs are there. Have you understood the requirement for SDGs? I think most of the people have seen this because of all these EHS and sustainability people are sitting here. But we have to review the requirement, specifically SDG requirement. And we have to come out with the ambassador of the all SDGs, and also work on the environmental issues. So these are the basic things is a requirement for the sustainability as well as the ESG. So, and later on also ESG will be the key factor. And companies, in fact, I remember companies are adopting a lot of initiatives in terms of waste management as well, in terms of energy, in terms of water as well. Water is also playing a major role. The next war will be on water. This is purely, people are aware that water will be the next, the war actually, the front. So we have to think about how we are living, what we are doing, how we are, wasting our water. Then we have to just think about all these things, and then we have to think about our future generations. What they will have. They will have such kind of environment? No. I think we have to, this is the time actually, because 2030 will be the master. India has taken a target. By 2070, they will be the net zero. But actually, there are a lot of work has to be done. But India is actually still far better for the other developed countries, because they are, the per capita consumption or emission is India is much better compared to the developed nation. But India is also going to increase their capacity, or also going to touch the developed countries as well. So now we have to see the combination, how we can, connect with that our India's mission as well as our company's mission as well. So I think each individual has to work on SDGs and also adopt the targets government has thinking, and even our Modi ji's mission is, I think, one mission I can say, which is one earth, or one sun, one earth, one grid. This is fantastic initiative they have taken. This has been done in collaboration with the UK, France, and India. All three countries are doing a regional, grid transportations. So these things are happening in back-end level. But we have, each companies have to think about, and they have to proactively take the actions in this.
Thank you, Mr. Gyanesh. Now, my next question with very experienced person, Mr. Dilip Kumar. Sir, how education institute are going to play a major role in protection of the environment?
See, I will start with the very important proverb. I will start with the important statement, Sarvo Sukhenu Bhavantu. And I will take a cue from my previous speaker that one earth, one planet, one family, one earth. One earth, one family, one life. And that's a slogan that has been given, essentially, Sarveno Sukheno Bhavantu. Now, this is the way how in any education institution must impart education about the sustainability. Sustainability does not come from a vacuum. Sustainability, if we want to achieve, must be seen in the ground reality. Many presentations are being made, CSR funds are created, but what we have seen, some funds are being given, and then some plantation have been taking place here and there, helter-skelter, without actually making the understanding how much it is going to impact our climate. Nevertheless, I feel that every education institution must create to change the attitude of the students with complete knowledge of technology. With complete knowledge of technology, when I say technology in terms of energy creation, energy storage, and energy distribution, where the pollutions are going to be more or less net zero. That technology of using different types of treatments, air, water, and soil. All the three treatments, because agriculture is also producing lots of pollutions. Lots of methane gases, lots of ozone gases. So we have to teach them complete knowledge of the technology with motivation to have high level of aspiration to create a new India, with readiness, with boldness, with honesty and accountability. Now this is the word I just picked up. And when I was taking each word one by one, I say it is becoming now word that has been given by Atmanirbhar. What do you mean by Atmanirbhar? We want to make every student to become Atmanirbhar so that they can make others to become Atmanirbhar. If you want to make Atmanirbhar, now the word I have used, change of attitude. Themselves, then their family, then their neighbors, change their attitude. And technology, knowledge of technology, as I mentioned, Atma, M stands for motivation. Every one of us must be motivated, and every one of us must have high aspirations that we must have our quality of life. Now, quality of life needs to be redefined. Quality of life must be distinguished between cost of living and the lifestyle costs. And then, level of aspirations, create a new India. Whatever India we have seen, now we have to look at new India with all sorts of readiness or Atmanirbhar, with boldness, with honesty and accountability. We cannot afford to be dishonest. We cannot afford to manipulate our accounts. We cannot afford to manipulate our climate assessment report. We have to be honest. So any education institution, and what a great word Modi ji gave, Atmanirbhar Bharat. And if we follow each word and expand it and incorporate it into our curriculum, and really we like to impart that to our students, because they are going to be the future ambassador of our new India. Because they are at the age of, say, age bracket of 20 to 30. So if they cannot do, who else is going to do it? We want honesty, we want accountability, we want motivation, we want aspiration. That's how we will be able to create a new India. So any education institution must do that. In addition to that, there should be well aware what is happening around. 1.5 degree centigrade increase. Now it is more or less predicted, because I started my career with forecasting of Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology way back 75. I was working on some diffusion model, including prediction of pollution, prediction of ozone, and so on and so on, surface ozone. But what I'm trying to say, that this prediction leading to 1.5 degree centigrade to 2 degree centigrade is inevitable, going to be. But if it increases further, many of our countries are going to be under the sea. What is going to happen? Their safety. And that is very, very important for us. We are not only going to live, sarveno sukheno bhavantu, we must see everybody remains happy. Everybody lives happily. My neighbor must live happily. My countryman lives happily. My other countrymen, counterparts in the world, they live happily. But what do we do about them? So India is better positioned in that way, I would say that. We have that climate action assessment already in place. Now we are going to have it from the central level to the state level to the district level. And what we need at this stage, appropriate policies, appropriate climate policies. And that is lacking, because that policy, what we saw it, in which I was also a little bit party to that, for the enactment of 1986 Conservation Act, and subsequently Tribal Act 2005. Then I was a party to that, because we thought this is the way how the new India to be leading to. And there are lots of works to be done. Lots of work with honesty and integrity must be done. So at this stage, I think I've completed my first round. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dilip Kumar. Now my next panel member is Shipra. So Shipra, my question with you is, consultancy agencies are playing a very important role, a crucial role in ESG and sustainability reporting for the industries. How ERM is participating in this role?
Thank you, Mr. Nihal, for the question. See, the issue with the reporting typically is, for a lot of companies, there are so many frameworks globally being put up for companies to report on. And the drivers are very, very different. So for some companies, the driver is usually coming from investors or their financial institutions. For some, it is mostly coming from customers, or for others, it is regulatory driven. And some are doing it just because their peers are doing it. And which is why companies are now in a fix where they don't know which framework to follow, how to do it. And this, the whole exercise of doing a reporting, the whole objective was to bring in transparency and push companies to kind of be transparent about what they're doing on ESG, how their performance has been, what is the progress on ESG strategy, and what are some of the initiatives and what are some of the challenges. But in the race for taking up different frameworks, I think the whole objective is getting lost, and companies are just following some of the frameworks and just going by it. I think globally everyone realizes that this is a fatigue we are ending into, and it just not takes the effort to do it, but there are a lot of resources which go into, producing or developing a report. While these reports also are kind of a tool. It's not just an outcome-based report, but they also help you kind of look in introspection where the gaps are. What is that the company needs to do when you look at some of these frameworks? So, typical frameworks like in India, it's regulatory, mandatory to report on BRSR for top 1,000 listed companies, right? But when you go globally, and financial institutions would largely follow GRI. And then when you go to climate change, it is mostly TCFD. So those are typical frameworks that you're doing it. But now, then there are other agencies who are mostly on the risk rating side of it. They look at different lens of these reports. So how do we go about it? So one of the global exercises that everyone is doing is they're consolidating these standards. They're consolidating these standards, standardizing it, bringing it into a framework which everyone can follow it. One of the first exercises is done by IFRS and ISSB, where they've come up with the first standards on climate change for now, which companies can follow. So it will supersede TCFD for now. So companies who were doing TCFD will now have to start looking into IFRS S2 as a standard. So that is one. Then there are other jurisdictions-wise where different regulators, they are kind of coming up with their own frameworks. So for instance, in India, primarily we advise companies to go for BRSR if there's no other mandate, because that is the only mandatory framework that you have, rather than going after a lot of other frameworks. This is one framework that you can look into. How ERM helps companies is to navigate this challenge. So we, while most companies come to us with the challenge that we need to do this, we need to do TCFD, we need to do BRSR, we need to do SR, we need to do S2. So how we do it is we help them understand what are the objectives of these frameworks. We help them see that most of these KPIs and most of these, performance indicators could be common across different frameworks. So it's better to just come up with one report which kind of aligns with all of these frameworks, and which could be one publication for you from company side, and that is one you can follow. So these are some of the trends that we are seeing. Going forward, what we are going to see is one, standardized frameworks globally, so that all the companies would be ranked and rated on one framework rather than multiple frameworks, because that makes financial institutions' life easier. And that was one of the outcomes of COP28 as well, where the financial institutions did mention that one of the reasons why green finance and transition finance is not coming to emerging markets, because there's a perceived risk as to whether the companies are actually disclosing the right thing or not. So there are integrity issues with the information. There are integrity issues with whether the right people or the host communities are getting the right benefit or not. And the whole ecosystem of ESG kind of gets aligned with reporting, because that's how companies reflect their true picture. While when you look at private institutions and private money, probably you could still have a chance or a chance and opportunity to speak to them one-on-one and kind of show your performance. But when it is about attracting green finance, when it is about attracting more diverse financial instruments, then probably it is one report which is your true company's reflection, and which is where companies are expected to report with transparency. They are expected to report with integrity. They're expected to not greenwash, and therefore there are a lot of other requirements coming in from assurance angle, that companies need to go for reasonable assurance. They need to report on this specific KPIs. They need to measure these things, because everything is dependent on that. So yeah, that's where we are, and thank you very much for the question.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Shipra. So I think it was a very good panel where we have people from construction industry to IT to consultancy, and they have given a different opinions about ESG and sustainability. One thing I wish to say with all the people who are present, because the first 1,000 companies are supposed to submit their report, but what about other companies which are dealing with you? Because we need not to break the chain. So let us start trying that they should also follow these rules and regulations. So you are having a full environmental management system where you are doing a proper sustainability reporting. One thing is very clear, because we need competent people for this line, and when we started one of the program on certificate on ESG and sustainability, I have seen that number of people are interested to do these courses. So I think awareness is created, people are trying to do ESG and sustainability properly, and I hope that future is good. Thank you.
I just.
No, so see, ESG typically, the results, it is. See, submission of reports is not incentivized. So, so it's more like,
Submission of the report is your responsibility. It is your responsibility.
So, thank you for that question. I think the incentive is not in publishing a report. The incentive is obviously in transparency, and the incentive is not in form of monetary benefit. But yeah, no, yeah. So, but the incentive is whether no. But let me complete this. The incentive is, you are reporting transparently, and your peer probably is not, right? So when you go for a finance, and then the financial institution will kind of assess your performance against the peer. That's one. Then obviously they will also
Scoring
see
will be done accordingly.
what is the robustness of your information vis-a-vis your peer, and that influences a lot of capital, the interest that on the capital that you're doing. So it is not incentivized directly, but indirectly it does have.
Not only that, you see, we have already started global stock taking. That's the proposition going on. Now it is going to come towards the organizational stock taking. So all your stocks and other markets are going to be based on your scores. So we have to be very careful. And not only that, if we just look at the energy consumption by India, I think our energy consumption per capita energy consumption is 1300 kilowatt per hour. That's for our population, but everybody has a right. And if we just look at this per capita energy consumption is directly proportional to your developmental indicator. Now, if we want to go to the level of China or level of US, now we need to do lot of energy generation. And where from those energy generation comes? Who funds it? That's how in the Paris Agreement it was decided that the developed countries will be providing $1 billion every year for climate financing. What is that finance? What is the finance? And that was exactly the discussion took place both in Glasgow and also in Dubai, COP27 and COP28. But there is no resolution. Even in the Dubai resolution, fossil fuel to be gradually eliminated. People, developed countries did not agree. I mean, these are some of the things. So what we need to do collectively, we have to create those type of awareness. At least in India, let us go towards the net zero. And whatever resources we have got, organizational level, education and institutional level, family level, individual level, what do you do to reach to the net zero? That's the most important point.
One thing I wanted to add here regarding the incentives, as I told you, the huge money is parked with the institutions or agencies. They want to invest responsibly. The company who take care of ESG. Suppose your ESG records is good, it's transparent, and it's visible transparent. Because we have read that first the S&P 50, they launched the ESG reporting, then S&P 500, and lot of manipulation was there. You will support me. Lot of manipulation of data was there. Similar thing happening, and she also told you, transparency, she has also told you that the many institutions are not ready to invest in our country. Reason is that lack of transparency. So this is the one kind of incentive. And another part I will tell you, it's a bitter things I am going to mention is we, human, is a very selfish creature of this nature. We don't act until it comes to our survival. We don't act. Lot of animals gone to instinct. We didn't act. But now, we have started acting because it's come to our survival. So we have to come out from this mind frame and think for the future perspective. And everyone has to do it responsibly. Because the future is going to come, future is for ESG, future is for green energy, future is for the clean environment. Only submitting form and record can give us the immediate benefit, but it cannot give us the sustainable future. Sustainable future will give when we will really act. Really act. That's the last thing I wanted to mention. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Om Prakash. Thank you, Mr. Dilip. So I think this ends this panel.
And एक बार जोरदार तालियां हो जाए. Please give a big round of applause, ladies and gentlemen, for this knowledgeable panel discussion, moderated by self Dr. Nihal Anwar Siddiqui. 11th edition of Global Safety Summit.
For us, all of you are winners because everyone is embarked on this journey.
Definitely from here, we will start achieving what we are discussing.